Hello class, welcome to lesson 4.2, which is all about writing equations in slope-intercept form. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form given the slope and 1 point. And you should also be able to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form given 2 points. So let's look at our first example where we have a point and the slope. We want to find out what the equation is for that line. So the way that we're going to do this, if we look at letter A, we have negative 2, 5 as their point and a slope of 3. So if we want to write this in slope-intercept form, just a quick review from yesterday, y equals mx plus b is our slope-intercept form, where m represents our slope and b is our y-intercept. So let's start. We have y equals, our slope is 3, so we know that's going to be a 3x plus, and we don't know what our y-intercept is. We don't say it's just 5, because y-intercepts, remember, are where it crosses the x-axis, or where it crosses the y-axis, and so that means our x value has to be 0. Right now, our x value is a negative 2, so that means we can't just put in plus 5. The way that we solve this, instead, we write y equals 3x plus b, and then we take this point that they gave us, and we plug it in for x and y. So our y value is 5 equals 3 times a negative 2, because our x value is a negative 2, plus b. So we have 5 equals negative 6 plus b, or if we add 6 to both, add 6 to both sides, we have b equals 11. So then I can go back to my equation and replace my b with 11. And that is the equation for that first line. Now let's take a look at part B, where we have a point of 4, negative 7, and we have a slope of negative 1. So again, we start by writing y equals, our slope is negative 1, so negative x plus b, and let's solve for b. So we have negative 7 is our y equals that negative sign, and then x is 4 plus b. So then if we add 4 to both sides, we have negative 3 equals b. So I can replace this plus b with minus 3, because plus a negative 3 is the same as minus 3. So there's my equation for part B. And then part C, we have a point of 2, negative 3, and a slope of 1/2. Okay, so if we go, start again, y equals 1/2 x plus b. And then if we go over to the side and we try to solve that, we have negative 3 equals 1/2 times 2 plus b, or negative 3 equals, what's 1/2 times 2? That's just 1 plus b. And then if I subtract 1 from both sides, I have negative 4 equals b. So I can go back to my equation and write, instead of plus negative 4, I'm going to put minus 4. And that is my equation. Okay? Go ahead and try to solve this one on your own and see how you do. Hopefully you determined that our equation is y equals negative 3x plus 7. If not, be sure to ask for some help. Now let's practice writing an equation based on 2 points. So previously we were given a slope and 1 point. Now we don't even have the slope. So that means our first step is to find our slope. So we're going to do our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if we plug 0 in for our y2, so if this is y2 and x2, y1 and x1, I have 0 minus a negative, so that becomes plus 8, divided by negative 7 minus 5, which is 8 over negative 12, which is the same as negative, and then 4 goes into 8 twice and into 12 3 times, So I have a slope of negative 2/3. So I know my equation is going to be y equals negative 2/3 x plus b. Now let's figure out what is my b value. So I take my y equals negative 2/3 x plus b, and I take one of my points and I plug it in. I like zeros, so I'm going to use this point right here on the right hand side, the negative 7, 0. I would get a correct answer with either points though. So if I do 0 equals negative 2/3 times negative 7 plus b, I have 0 equals negative 2/3 times the negative 7 becomes positive because negative times a negative, 14/3 plus b. And then once I get b by itself, I have to, or in order to get b by itself, I have to subtract 14/3 from both sides. So I have negative 14/3 equals b. So then I can go back and I can change from plus b to minus 14/3. Another correct answer. Let's try it with the other point. Let's see what equation we would get if we used our other point. Okay, so we keep our slope the same. So we say y equals negative 2/3, and instead of y, let's use our negative 8, and 2/3 times 5 plus b. So I have negative 8 equals negative 10/3 plus b. So if I add 10/3 to both sides, I get b equals, I want to change my 8 to have a common denominator, so I'm going to say negative 24/3 plus 10/3. So that means negative 14/3 equals b. So you can see I end up with the same thing. So it doesn't matter which point you use. Alright, let's take a look at part B. We have negative 112 and 4 negative 8. So I'm going to say, just for fun, this is going to be my x2 and y2, and this is going to be my x1 and y1. So if I do 12 minus a negative 8, that becomes 12 plus 8. And then I have negative 1 minus 4, so 20 divided by negative 5. So my slope is a negative 4. So my equation, y equals negative 4x plus b. Let's solve for that. Let's plug in one of our points. I'm going to put negative 8 equals negative 4 times 4 plus b. So negative 8 equals negative 16 plus b. If I add 16 to both sides, I have 8 equals b. So then I can go back to my equation, and I change it from negative 4x to negative 4x plus 8. Okay? And that I would get that same thing if I had used my negative 112. Go ahead and try this one on your own, see how you do. Hopefully you ended up with y equals 3x plus 5. If not, be sure to ask for some help. Let's look at example 3. During 1 year, Malik's cost for self-service regular gasoline was $3.20 on the 1st of June and was $3.42 on the 1st of July. Write a linear equation to predict Malik's cost of gasoline the first of any month during the year, using 1 to represent January. Okay, so first let's think. We're talking about time, right? We're talking about months, which represent time. So those are going to be our x values. What number should we use to represent June? We know that 1 represents January, so that means June is going to be 6. And what went with June? $3.20. What about for July? That's represented by a 7, and we had $3.42. So we have 2 points, and now we need to find our slope. So we can write our linear equation to predict the cost. So we have Our months are x values because it's time. X values are always time. So if we do 7 minus 6, that means we have 342 minus 320. And if we do that, we have 22 cents divided by 1. So 22 cents is how much it changes by each month. So that means we can write an equation y equals 0.22 x plus b. So what's my b value going to be? Well, if we plug one of our points in, so if I use my June point and I plug 6 in and 320 in, I do 3.20 equals 0.22 times 6 plus b. 0.22 times 6 gives me 132. And if I subtract 132 from each side, I'm left with 1.88 equals b. So that must have been the starting price back before the year. So I replace b with 1.88. And that is my equation. I know I tell you that I don't like fractions, or I like fractions, I don't like decimals for slope, but since this is a real world concept with money, it's okay to have a decimal for your slope. Go ahead and try this one on your own, see how you do. Hopefully you ended up with y equals 3.5x plus 57.65. Let's go ahead and look at our last example. Example 4. On average, Malik uses 25 gallons of gasoline per month. He budgeted $100 for gasoline in October. Use the prediction equation in example 3. So our equation, just remember, was y equals 0.22x plus 1.88. Use this equation to determine if Malik will have to add to his budget and explain. So we want to know if in October $100 is going to be enough. Well, is $100 going to be enough? How are we going to solve this? X represents the month, so what should I plug in for X? October is what month in the year? It's the 10th month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that in and see what my total price is. So if I do 0.22 times 10, I'm left with $4.08. Okay, so we know that's the price per gallon. Now I take that price per gallon. So if I do 25 gallons times my $4.08, I end up with $102. So I want to know, is $100 enough money for gas in October? No. He will need to add $2 more to his budget, right? And that's what I would expect you guys to write. Okay. Go ahead and try this last example on your own, see how you do. Hopefully you ended up with $358.25. If not, be sure to ask for some help. Remember, if you have questions on anything from this section, be sure to reach out to either myself or a friend and make sure that you understand it. Okay? I hope you guys have a great day.